And welcome back to another episode of Building the Board, really the penultimate episode of Building the Board, where we are finalizing the big board for the Chicago Bears. My name is Quentin Crisco. I am joined by Steve Letizia and Luke O'Grady. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing this evening?
Doing great. Looking
Doing
forward to
great.
talking to
Yeah, I think this is like you said, this is probably going to be one of the more fun episodes that we do, and like kind of encapsulates a lot of the work we put in. So should be good.
So, those of you who are listening, we have a board pulled up on our video. If you're watching on Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it for yourself here. But what we're going to be doing, we have this board that we've created with our numerical grades, right? Like when we're doing this whole project, we have grades on grades on grades that are just numerical. But your big board can't just be made up of math, right? Like it needs to have logic intertwined within it. So these are our numerical grades. This episode is us intertwining that logic, that human element where we're saying, let's break this up into tiers. Let's see where that gets us. Because, we might have a guy like say a guy like Josh Connerly. Say we think they should love Josh Connerly. Not that we exactly do think that, but say that we did. And we think that he should be like number 10, but he's number 20 on our numerical board. This is where we make that adjustment. But gentlemen, starting out, I would like to propose something that I think is very controversial, that Abdul Carter should be number 1 on this board.
I think it makes sense. Our grades match up that way. If you look at it, it's pretty significant. It's only 1/9, so I think it makes sense to just kind of lock that in.
Yeah. Now, who else are you guys putting in that top tier of players of like, you do not pass this player if he's there at 10?
Is that what we're thinking? Like the first tier is like you run to the podium if they're there at 10.
Yes.
Okay.
Or I mean, unless you guys want to discuss some trade up options here.
I think that top 4 to me is the run to the podium. I mean, Bill Carter, Travis Hunter have no chance of being there, but like if for whatever reason they were there, I think they would take both those guys. And then Ashton Jeanty, Mason Graham are still in that tier. I think they're really, really good players, but they have a better chance of being there at 10. So I don't know. Do we want to put them? Do we want to have like Hunter and Carter in their own tier, or are you guys comfortable putting all 4 of those guys in one tier?
I see what you mean. I think there is an element of like realism. Like these are kind of the 4 guys I would have circled too, as like if they're there, there's no one else I can imagine wanting as much. But there are probably some other guys that I think like at the value at 10 makes sense. But I would also agree that I would take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter above those other 2 guys like 100% of the time, all things considered. So it is a little tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, I mean, I think where I'm sitting, or what I'm kind of hearing and where I'm sitting is Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter in a tier of their own, and Jeanty and Graham are probably the start of tier 2.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. And now something that we probably should touch on here too is we locked in our positional importance before free agency and before the trades. So do we want to make any adjustments to our grades of positional importance here, where we have, offensive guard as the 4th or 5th most important position to consider?
I think, yeah, so we did this, we kind of put this together like maybe 2 months ago. I guess it's like, so we've given it a once over pretty good. Is there anything that you think in the last little bit has changed, or like maybe interviews from Ben Johnson or Ryan Poles has shifted your opinion about any specific group here?
For me, I mean, I'm thinking offensive guard and center probably get cut down a little bit. I still like interior defensive line, edge rusher being near the top. I think tight end needs to move up a little, and I think running back needs to move up a little.
Yeah, actually, I think we made these before we saw the moves for Dahlman and Tooney or Jackson, for that matter. So I think that the interior offensive line on the whole went from being a pretty big, like a pretty big area of need to like we're kind of at a point now where if the Bears didn't make another move there, they probably would still have all of their starters right like on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say that I think I'm probably moving down center a little bit because Dahlman's young. He's 26. He's going to be your center for a while. I'm actually okay with keeping guard the same because Joe Tooney's older. Donovan Jackson's injury prone and hasn't been that effective last year. I still think guard is a pretty big need. So I would, if we do move it down, I wouldn't move it down too much, but I'm fine with moving down center maybe a little bit more.
Okay, so maybe we move center down below running back,
Yeah, that's fair.
and then running back moves up some, and then
Maybe move cornerback up too.
yeah,
I think the last little bit has kind of made clear that maybe opinions on Tyreek Stevenson in that building aren't the highest, and even if there is a little bit of doubt, you kind of do need to treat that position pretty seriously.
What would we say is the most important spot right now? Let's start there.
Edge rusher, or maybe like edge rusher and defensive tackle. Like it seems like.
Yeah.
Okay, so those will be our two most important, and then after that, I mean, do we think
could be running back after that?
Right, I mean, that's where I'm leaning. Running back is the third.
The thing is like tackle. I think like we're saying running back because like it feels like that match is made so nicely for like Ashton Ginty. Like I think if you look at the rest of the way the draft could play out, like I don't know if like that running back is kind of a position that if we didn't add another person again, we would probably be fine with Swift, Homer, and Roshan.
How about we put a cap of 8 at running back then?
Sure.
Like it can't go above 8. I think that's a fair compromise. But then so beyond that, I mean, I think offensive tackle, just because most guards come from tackle, so that you kind of you get both ends there of like it. We're talking guards and tackles there. And then I'd keep offensive guard at 8.5 in that same element. I think if we're just want to say O-line is the next most important.
Sure. Yeah, then after that, probably.
I think, but I just think logically,
safety.
We think that running back is more important than guard here. So I think somehow that needs to be reflected. Unless you think that a guard, like if you had two prospects at the same grade and they were running back and a guard, where would you guys lean?
Well, so I think I like where you're going with that of knocking guard maybe down to 7.5 because a tackle who can give you guard tackle flexibility is much more valuable to this roster right now than just a guard. So and most of the guys who are listed at guard in our spreadsheet are just guards, right? Yeah. Like they cannot move to offensive tackle. So I'm okay with that. And then do we want to say, Steve, you said maybe safety is the next most important?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a safety under contract in 2026.
Yeah.
So I think it's a position that's a pretty big need. So, yeah, okay. I think safety next, and then maybe tight end or wide receiver missed, one of those.
See, I was thinking tight end or corner.
I think corner would be right up there with, like, I think the I guess you kind of can plan on having Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johns for at least the foreseeable future. So maybe it's not as pressing as safety, but I think it's just a slot below it.
I think with corner is so tough because they could really like Tyreek Stevenson. We have no idea. And like just knowing like what Dennis Allen likes in his cornerbacks, like Tyreek Stevenson fits it to a T.
I know.
Like in terms of like, on the field stuff, like I know he had a down year last year and everything.
So does Terrell Smith, honestly. Like they kind of could have boys that they could use in house for sure. The problem is if they're high on Tyreek Stevenson, it makes sense to push it down the board. If they're low on Tyreek Stevenson, all you have is question marks at position 2.
Right. Like I don't think, and if they're low on him, it's not anything. It's probably not anything on the field. It's like the head case
because he's Tyreek Stevenson
aspect of it. So which we don't like know. We'll never know. So it's
the fact
and like
that
maybe they don't like Tyreek Stevenson, but maybe the board just doesn't fall the way that they hope for, and they don't end up getting a cornerback really high, and then it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to roll with Tyreek Stevenson now. Like,
I would say the breadcrumbs kind of point to them not targeting it too much before day 3 cornerback, because like Darian Porter before the combine he wasn't the day 2 guy until his athletic testing. And then they talked to Dorian Strong, who was looking like a day 3 guy, might be bumping up to day 2 now. But like, I think that there hasn't been much about their communication there. And the fact that Al Harris, right when he took the position as defensive backs coach, one of the first things he did was get Tyreek Stevenson a coach to work with this offseason. Makes me think that they want to try that. I mean, tell me if that's flawed thinking, but that's where my head's at.
I think that's fair. I mean, if there's But I also think if like a cornerback falls to them that maybe they don't expect, they would still pull the trigger if it made sense board wise. But I don't
Yeah.
know if it's like you said, I don't know if it's a position they're actively targeting.
Okay, so I'm going to propose we do tight end as the next one, and then corner.
That works for me.
Yep,
Corner,
I
and
think that
then
works for me too.
probably.
Yep.
I mean, linebackers also kind of a sneaky need. I mean, maybe not
They've
need,
talked
but
to a
like
bunch of
they've talked to a
linebackers.
bunch of linebackers.
And I
I
don't
think-
think, like, the more I think about Dennis Allen, it's like he wants his linebackers to play like safeties, right? Like he
Yeah.
likes these undersized coverage guys who none of the Bears linebackers really fit the mold of. But I
Right.
don't know how high they're willing to go for it.
Right, because they have two solid linebackers at least. So it's not
Yeah.
like a.
Yeah.
So,
So I think I'd do wide receiver before linebacker here.
okay.
Agree.
And then
And then center. Because they could still easily draft a center, like a
yeah.
developmental guy on day 3, or even like a Jared Wilson. They could draft him on day 2
Okay.
just because like they think he's really good. Like,
I like those adjustments. I think those
Yeah, I think
all
that's good.
make a lot of sense. And that's gonna jumble our board a little though. Just a heads up.
I'm excited to see.
Because that's our positional grade, right? Like that's
That
where
makes
there's a
sense.
root from.
Yeah, we got Gentry at 2 now.
Oh, we got Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland at 5 and 6 now. Okay.
With the same exact score.
Yeah. Okay. So in that second tier, back to our tiering with Travis Hunter and wait, that changed up our okay.
I would put it back the way we had it though. I think.
Yeah. I see.
Sense. As much as I love Gentry, Hunter's.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think like one is like people that if it made sense, you probably would be fine trading up for, and then 2 is kind of like best case scenario, sitting at 10, who's there.
I agree with that. Like I don't want to see them trade up for Graham or Gene T, but if they traded up to say, like for some reason Carter or Hunter are falling and they move up to 6 for him, like I'm like I get it, I get that.
Right.
But who else is in that tier with Gene T and Graham, if anybody? Where it's like if they're there at 10, you can't pass on them.
This is such a weird draft class. We kind of talked about this like the other day, but like it's bad draft class. Like I don't think anyone else. I'm okay with having those 4 guys in their own tiers and then going into the tier 3. Like I don't think Warren, like Loveland, McMillan, any of these guys are like you have to get them if they're available 10. I think they're options at 10, but like you're not.
There's just enough question marks with everybody else. Like no one else is squeaky clean like those guys above.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say like those 2, like you're running to the podium, and then like the tier 3 would be guys that you'd be fine with taking at 10.
Yeah. So I think that's a good way to kind of look at it. So like, who are those guys? Like, I think pretty much maybe the only one I would be like the only one we have a guy like up here that I wouldn't put in that 3 is maybe Ted McMillan, just because the Bears. I just don't see any way the Bears are drafting Ted McMillan at 10. Like Luke, you've watched him more. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't see that at all. But does that affect what tier he's in? I don't know.
I would say he's tier 3, just in that if he's there at 10 and the Bears take him, like I would be like, I would probably be pretty excited about it. I think he's got some pretty crazy upside, and if they're taking him, that means Ben Johnson probably has a pretty cool vision for them. So like almost any offensive skill player right now, like I'm going to be blind and faithful to like how I think he could be like utilized in our offense. Mm-hmm. But like he's got a ton of upside. He really could be like an all-pro level player. I honestly thought the film was all right. Like there's flashes and stuff. But like if he's there at 10, like he's worthy of the top 10 pick, I think.
Okay. Let me put it this way. Do we think there are 7 players in this tier?
I was just gonna say I think this tier, yes.
I think this tier could end up being like 15.
Yeah. Then Tet's easy to include.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're not saying they're going. He is the last player in this tier available at 10, and we have to stick to our grades, right?
Yeah.
So
Roman 3.
I would say 3 from Warren all the way to Campbell. I think is tier 3 is where I would kind of cut it off. But curious what your guys' thoughts.
I guess it would matter if there was someone past that. Makuba, I really love Makuba. I don't know if I love him at 10. He'd probably going to be in that tier down where it's like a little bit of a trade. A trade down would be perfect.
Does Burden belong in 3?
I would say Burden's probably below 3.
Luke,
Yeah,
you're the wide
yeah,
receiver guy. Okay.
I agree. I would be
Okay.
like, I would be saying like Fooey if we took Luther Burden at 10.
Okay. And then
I like Tevin Millen way more, and I was already kind of like, it's because it's like it's such a luxury for what the Bears already have. They have a ton of nice depth and 2 guys that are definitely starters. Like that's probably more than enough. If you're going luxury, it's not Luther Burden. I have 2 receivers with higher grades than him.
And the only other guy we have marked as tier 3 right now that would give me heartburn is Malachi Starks, and I am much lower on him than the other 2 people who have watched him. So I'll defer to you, Steve. Luke, if you've watched him, I want to hear your opinion. But like I didn't see it with him.
Luke, I know you don't love Malachi Starks, right?
I like Malachi Starks, but I just like
Makuba
Makuba more. Malachi Starks, like as far as like the our grading system, Malachi Starks has a way higher floor for me than any other safety I did.
Yeah, and I think I had like the highest grade, at least the highest of the 3 of us on Starks, and it was mostly because of his floor. I just think he's a really safe prospect, and I value
he
that.
plug in to be a day 1 starter at the like strong safety position, and he has awesome coverage, like center of the field stuff.
Yeah, he can play. I mean, he just does everything really well. Like man coverage too. Like he can cover slot receivers, he can cover tight ends, he can cover running backs, he can play in zone. He's got good range. Like he does everything so well. But yeah, I don't know if he has that like one trait that really like screams top 10 pick. But I think that's kind of an issue with a lot of the guys in this class. Like this class, just the guy the Bears get at 10 probably isn't worth the 10th overall pick in most draft classes, is what I would say.
And I totally see the high floor with him. I just don't know if that's worth this high of a draft pick, you know, especially at safety where you find guys all the time late in the draft. And when I'm watching safety, I'm
tier 4. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I think we do need to come to agreement because there's going to be moments where it's like I would be fine with putting Malachi Starks in tier 3 because if it happened, I would get it. But I also have a higher grade on Andrew Makubo. But I know I couldn't like convince you guys to say that you stay and sit at 10 and take Andrew Makubo would make sense. So it's like if we want, we can put Malachi Starks in 3. But if anyone's strongly opposed, I could understand like him being more of a trade back target. The thing is like I feel like he just plays in such a way that it's like if you think about the way Dennis Allen used Tyrann Mathieu, like he would love to use like Makuba in a similar way. Just like a game wrecker. If you need him to go play middle of the field, he can. If he had to only play middle of the field, I'm not sure he'd be a great pro. That's kind of my only hesitation with him. But I think that like especially with Dennis Allen, if he got taken at 10, I would be like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. I like Makuba a lot too. He was below Starks for me, but I still really liked him. But I think actually, like with both those guys, I'd be disappointed with the 10th overall pick. I think both those guys, it's like okay, if you get him in a trade back and into the teams, like I'm okay with either of them.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. And I also think
I think both
like,
of them would be kind of
safety on the whole. Is
I
like
think it's more the
position value. I don't love it. So if we want to go safety at 4, just out of straight pride, like and like position value talk, I think that's fine.
So tier 4, that's probably the perfect way to explain it, right? Like tier 3 is you're okay taking them at 10 if you know if all the tier 1 and 2 guys are gone, which they probably will be. Now tier 4, we're talking about guys who you're targeting in a trade down. We want to target in a trade down within the first round. So that's starting with Malachi Starks. I threw Makubu in there because Makuba because I'm with you, Luke. I think I had a higher grade on him than I did Starks, but after that, does Burden belong in this tier 4?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
The thing is that here's the thing. That is almost me like deferring to like popular like opinion and like what my assumption of your guys' opinion would be. I actually think that like anywhere in the first round for me, like I wouldn't love Burden there. Yeah. Like I said, I have other receivers higher, and like it's already a position I think is like a little bit of a luxury.
I want to trust your gut with this. I mean, this is you've watched more of him than I have, and what I watched a little bit, I just kept kind of questioning like, but can he get open in the NFL? Like, and it seemed like there was always kind of that nagging question on his tape of like, there's not a lot of separation there. He's good at the catch point, good at creating some space when the ball is getting there. Yeah. But he didn't separate a whole lot.
Yeah. Like if you're forced to take him in the teams because that's where people are saying to take him, that would be the argument for him being in tier 4. I have a good starter grade on him, which we have as about like, an early to mid second round grade. unless one of you guys wants to go to bat for him, I don't even think he's in our tier 4.
No, I agree. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm fine with
that's
putting them in the tier later that we'll discuss. Steve, Mike Green.
Yeah, Mike Green could easily, on just like tape alone, could be in tier 3, but I think with all the off-field stuff, like you would not feel comfortable just sitting and taking him at 10. So I think he is still in that tier 4 because he's talented enough where, and we don't know, we're not
Right.
talking to these guys, so like it's so hard to talk about all that off-the-field stuff because we don't know what really happened, we don't know what he's telling teams and everything like that. So I think putting him in 4, you'd be okay with a trade back, but 10 would be probably a little bit too
I
low.
think a good way to think about the trade back is let's imagine like you could go back a little farther, you could go back only a couple of spots. Let's just think, would you be fine with this guy at like pick 20?
Yeah.
If you get Mike Green at pick 20, you're pumped.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's enough enough upside there that you're just like, yeah, I'm excited about that. Even though the off-field stuff, like you said, is probably the only reason he's in tier 4.
Right.
How are we feeling about Jalen Walker? I might be the only person who has a strong opinion on this. I'm not sure.
I like Jalen Walker, the player. It just like he's so talented. It's like more of a projection thing with Walker. It's like where do you play him? Like he's not do you play him at off-ball linebacker? He's not a good off-ball linebacker. He's good like coming downhill, and he's a good pass rusher, but he's also 240 pounds or whatever he was. I can't remember. Like Dennis Allen's not gonna be pounding the table for Jalen Walker, but he's a good player overall. Like I think he is gonna be a good NFL player, just not for the Bears.
Yeah, I'm not sure he fits in this tier just because I don't
Yeah.
know where Dennis Allen fit. Like Dennis Allen has a clear archetype along the defensive line and at linebacker, and he's neither of them. So I'm just as much as I want to say Dennis Allen will use him creatively, I'm not sure. Like I have no basis, no evidence for that. So it's like I think we have to move on from him.
Like I love the idea of getting like a smaller, bendier pass rusher to kind of complement what the Bears already have with those like big guys with Dio and Montez Sweat. Like I love that idea, but it's just not something that Dennis Allen has ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even though I think it's a good idea, like it's probably not going to happen.
Now, this is backtracking a little, but Steve, are we sure we're good with Josh Simmons at 10?
Well, see, that's. I mean, you could put him in 4 because this again, but this like on tape on the field, he's 3 for me all the way. I have him over. I mean, we all have him over. Maybe not all of them, but on our board we have him over Will Campbell. So and that's on tape alone because we don't see medicals and stuff like that. So in that case, he's a 3 all the way. But if you with the medicals, maybe he does belong in tier 4, but I don't know. I'm still fine with him in tier 3. Honestly, if they did take him at 10, I would be like, okay, I get that. That means that if they take him at 10, that means the medical is checked out, and that's my biggest question.
Okay,
so
I think I'm good with him in 3 then because it's like you said, if they pick him at 10, I'm going to be excited because I don't see the medicals, So
and like that, and if the medicals were iffy, then they wouldn't have taken it at 10. So it's kind of like if that happens, we're good to go.
Okay. Now, how about like Kenneth Grant, Josh Connerly? Are they're probably 4s, right? Or are we thinking anything different?
Definitely at least 4.
I think Connerly is a clear 4.
Connerly's a 4. I think Grant's a 4 too. If they trade back and get him, I'd be excited about Grant.
Yeah, I think
he's not my favorite player. I actually have like a lower grade on him than like some people, but I see the appeal from. It's so easy to see.
Do you think he's a first-round pick, Steve?
Yeah, I think he's a first-round pick for sure. I think.
I don't. I think he's an early second-round guy. Like when I watch his tape, there are other defensive tackles below him on our board who I had above him. So
yeah, and same here. I think I have. I don't see him on here, but the Texas guy, Alpha Collins, I'm over him. But anyway, I think the athleticism and the size is so appealing that I don't think he gets out of the first round. So even if you don't have a first round grade on him, which I don't think I do either, I think he makes sense as a first round pick. So if they traded back and got him, I would talk myself into that pretty easily because he's just so gigantic and so athletic. And he's a young guy. Like so, yeah, there are issues on tape for sure. He plays too high. He's got balance issues, but like he's a true junior who's super athletic and super good. So there's plenty to like there.
Now, what about Igbuka, Luke? Or how are you feeling about wide receivers in general in a trade back?
Let me bring up my. I like Ibuka, but after Tet and um, Travis Hunter, there's a bit of like a log jam right below there at that next tier. Like I have really, really similar grades on Matt Golden and Luther Burden and Jaden Higgins, and Jack Betch and Emeka Ibuka. And kind of like a little tier of his own. I have Kyle Williams just below them. So
Okay, so
like, I think they all. It's tough because I like them as prospects, but I really like with there's a lot of other positions. For me, wide receivers pretty far down the board as far as like importance. So like they would all like after those two, they would almost all kind of be into the like maybe trade back end of the first round, like into the second round, like type.
Okay, so that's probably the next tier then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
then
I think with like all these wide receivers, I mean, most of these wide receivers, like maybe they pick at 10, like maybe. I still don't know about that, but like I could see it. But then like if they don't pick him at 10 and even if they trade back, I don't see them targeting a different wide receiver in the first round, you know? Like I just don't think those guys match up with there's no way that those guys are gonna be the highest player on their board. You know what I mean? But I think that in the second round, when you get into that like second tier wide receivers, then in the second round, like that could make sense.
Steve, let's stick on defensive tackle here for a second and just saying like, so if we have Kenneth Grant,
this might be the best way to do it.
Who else needs to be okay? Let's just
have separate like position conversations.
Yeah, I actually like. Yeah, I like this way a lot. So okay,
this helps us contextualize.
If we have Kenneth Grant in 4, and now that I'm seeing this, I kind of want to bump him down into 5, to be honest.
That's where my head was at initially.
Now that I see like the right up, because like I mean the difference between Grant and Williams and Alexander and even West and Collins and Nolan like is so small. I feel like all those guys are kind of clustered together. So I couldn't have Grant in 4 and then Welter Nolan in like 5, you know?
Right.
Even though they're like very far apart. This is just such a deep D tackle class. All those guys are kind of in that same tier.
So are there any guys in the D tackle class you think we want in tier 4? Or do you think we're just going to stick them all in tier 5 because they're not all going to go before we hit those guys?
Yeah, I think tier like from Grant to I'd say Nolan maybe or at least Collins. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Collins is the breaking point there.
Is the 5, yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. All those guys are really good players. I like those players a lot. If they traded back and got them in like the teens, I'd be like a little bit disappointed. But if they make like a big trade back, you know, maybe they trade back to like 25 or something, then all those guys are in play and would be actually really good picks.
It's actually funny that the all of those guys are precisely in the grade that we kind of outlined as early to mid second, and it's like 7.25 to 8. So it's like that's pretty much exactly where we decided those guys were going.
Yeah,
it works out. Now, so for tier 6 for this, I mean, I almost think this is a 2-man tier for this position with Nolan and Norman Lott, and that because I think you're hitting a clear drop off to TJ Sanders and Joshua Farmer after that.
Yep, no, that makes sense to me. 6 and then.
Okay.
And then so Sanders and Farmer will start our 7.
Yeah,
Elijah Roberts' grade fits in with those two guys. Do you think he belongs with those two guys?
I think Elijah Roberts has more projection to his game than Farmer and Sanders do, because he's kind of switching positions. He's a little bit more raw. So I think for that reason, I would put him in 8. But then and Roberts, Phillips, Caldwell, Pegues, maybe even Brinson potentially. Well, they'll just stop it at there.
Yeah,
I think those 4 guys are loaded with potential, but maybe just don't have it all together yet.
That's more projects, more guys who are going to take 2 years to get there, but if they get there, watch out.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we're outside, but I think that's a good stopping point for the D tackle.
All right. What do you guys want to do? Cornerbacks next?
Sure.
That's just next on the list.
Just go down the list.
I think this is an interesting one because we've come so far from Will Johnson being far and away like one of the top 10, top 5 players in this draft, like he was touted to be. And it's funny because it's never because he played bad. It feels like maybe it's a little bit of like prospect fatigue, and also this being a fairly nice draft class at the top end. There's a lot of really nice like pick your flavor type options at cornerback. And it'd be interesting to see, you know, I don't know how much all of you guys have looked at this position, but it'll be interesting to see how you think this breaks down. Because, like, you know, we have someone like a Siobhan Rebel so far down the board, but like some people are going to take a risk on a player like that with his upside.
Yeah.
Might get pushed up into different tiers because of it. I think
I love
think,
Savon Revel, and I think Dennis Allen's going to love Savon Revel. I mean, I think
well, that's kind of what I was just gonna say. That this is a position where like there's a clear archetype that they're looking
yes.
for. So it's like I have now watched all these corners. Corners is probably the position I watched the least of. So
I've watched all of them on here.
You've watched all, so you're going to be the expert here. So like the guys that are, you know, I don't know if any of these guys are like 180 pounds, like they're probably not going to be 120 pounds. They're probably not going to be on like the Bears board.
Yeah,
I mean,
got to keep that in mind.
I honestly think Trey Amos might be their favorite corner in this draft.
Yeah,
like I have part of me says he should be 3, but I think that's too far. But but he just fits what Dennis Allen wants so much.
I would actually say I would say you can put him in 4, and you could probably put Jahdae Barron with him in 4 too, just because he really isn't the type of fit.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that you could throw him in, and he's just undersized too. Despite the fact that you could throw him into the slot, or you could probably throw him at safety too. Like, he would be a guy that if you're willing to take Will Johnson at 10, then for me, you know, you should be willing to take Jahdae Barron at 10. But Will Johnson also probably does fit what Dennis Allen wants as well. Like,
he's got a lot of really good jam techniques.
If we're not overthinking it, he would probably be Dennis Allen's favorite corner in their class. And it wouldn't like he would probably be the guy that if they ended up taking him at 10, I would like be okay with, because it would be such a good fit. And he is a better, like, he feels like he's getting a crazy case of prospect fatigue.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I was lower on Johnson's tape, but also, I mean, I get the reason why you would love him in Dennis Allen's scheme. He can tie up a receiver at the line of scrimmage, like for a good while. He's constantly pushing vertical routes out of bounds. Like, he is probably the strongest corner in the class. Like, as from a pure power standpoint, it has so much strength in his frame. Yeah. So I think that plays in this scheme well, even though I didn't love his tape as much. I think some of that was probably he just got burned on a lot of double moves this year for some reason.
Yeah.
But after that, I mean, Maxwell Hairston is a guy who I haven't watched a ton of yet. I got a few games in, but I liked what I saw. I like the size. I like the athleticism. I don't think he's a like ideal fit necessarily. But I don't know. I just think he's a good corner prospect, if that makes sense. He doesn't really do a lot for me when I'm like thinking about the Bears scheme, but I'm just like, he's got some dog in him and he can play.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I think my notes basically was, I didn't know exactly what he did that was elite.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're talking tiers, I think it would be like, Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron, Trey Amos, and 4. I agree. I love Trey Amos' game. I mean, I would definitely have Ben Morrison ahead of Hairston, but I think honestly, after Amos and Jahdae Barron, if we're thinking about those guys as trade down candidates, I don't think there's anyone left. Maybe Ben Morrison, that I would be willing to take with a first round pick.
Yeah, I think Ben Morrison goes down to that next tier where you're like, if we can get him at 33, if we trade down to 33 or something, like maybe we do it. But I don't think that he's a strong enough scheme fit for me that where I'm like, yeah, you can take him in the first round.
Yeah, I think you could, if you wanted to, I think you could probably make a tier out of Ben Morrison and Siobhan Revel there, just because of like how Siobhan Revel projects, and it really is a nice fit. There's a lot of stuff that I don't love about Siobhan Revel's game, but if the Bears traded down to like 20 or 25 or whatever, and they took him, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then let's see. I mean, I think Jacob Parrish was pretty similar to Maxwell Hairston, honestly, that they were just kind of good football players, even though I didn't see a lot of elite in their game.
I think if we determine someone's really not like a scheme fit, for the Bears, I think it's okay to like almost not tier them.
Yeah,
like they're the Bears aren't going to draft. That's the whole point. I mean, teams will build their board, and if a guy's not a scheme fit, they just won't include him, even if they're really good, if they're good players. you know. So
And Paris
I
was
mean,
like basically
outside of like the
pure
first
nickel.
round guys, you know, you could maybe like who have that elite skills, you can maybe think,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna go outside our scheme a little bit. But when you're getting into the 40s and 50s, that's when you can be like, okay, well, this guy just doesn't fit. He's a good football player, but we'll let someone else draft him. So I'm
Yeah.
okay with not tiering guys if we don't necessarily think they fit.
Okay. I mean, I agree.
If you think about it, the top 100 is basically going to be the first 3 rounds, just minus a little bit. So if you don't think that you would be okay with the Bears taking them or want the Bears to take them with the first 3-round pick, they're probably not going to end up making it here.
Yeah.
I think, having said that, Maxwell Harrison is a bit of a slot as it comes, and like it would seem to me that we're probably not looking at adding into that slot room.
Yeah,
with a ton of like luxury, outside corner probably, and that's why I think Siobhan Rebel and Ben Morrison. I
think Parrish does. I think Parrish had. I just pulled up my notes real quick to check. I saw some stuff with him as a press man corner that made some good sense. It was just that he wasn't necessarily like elite at anything, and I thought he got burned a little. But generally, I think he does fit the scheme. So I think maybe like a tier 6 there makes sense.
I think I would be fine with Dorian Strong being in tier 6 as well. I think he's kind of raw, but there's a whole lot of really nice stuff in this game.
Yeah. Noel Williams is a really good press man corner. If you want a press man corner, Noel Williams is the guy. So either 6 or potentially even 5.
I love what I saw from Noel Williams.
Do you think it would make sense? Like he could make sense as a first-round player?
No, I don't think so. I don't know about that. But
I just think the precedent was roughly 5 was very end of like 1 into the
okay. Then if that's the case, then definitely 6.
And then what do we decide for Max? Do we want to do 5 for Maxwell Harrison?
I think for
or is
Max,
he into that 6?
I think he's 6. So did Luke in your notes? I didn't actually take notes on him. Did you see much that like as far as scheme fit goes that he really makes sense? Or I thought you said you saw him as more
he's not I didn't love. I don't know if I loved any one thing about him. He was kind of like a bit of a boomer bust player. He loved to let's get hands on you and then run with you. So like sometimes people like shutting things down quickly, he would go like screaming by. And I thought he was better with the game in front of him. But the type of game that he played, I don't know if necessarily it was a strong suit, but it is probably the game that Dennis Allen would like his corner to play. I just think from my evaluation of him, I didn't have him as high as you guys did. So I don't know if just like value-wise, if I would love him in the first, but I could easily see him being 6.
Okay. Well, let's put him in 6 then. And I think there's still some more to kind of watch on him. We kind of hit our deadline. So I was just powering through guys the other day. But then I think, I almost kind of want to say, because Kobe Bryant, I think, has a ton of traits that they're going to love. But I don't know if he's quite tier 6 for me, just because I thought there was some stuff to clean up in his game that is going to, he might take some lumps in the NFL. Yeah, and I think that pushes him down some. So I'm going to go 7 for him.
Yeah. Isn't he smaller too? I know he's like
Is he? I know he's skinny. I thought he was long as
skinny is what I meant. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds, so he's pretty skinny.
But I think with how long he is, I think that he's gonna be in play a lot.
He's only 6 foot. It feels like those skinny guys end up looking so much longer and taller on film. It was like I thought Siobhan Rebel was going to be 6'4", and he was like 6'1".
Dude, he looks like a giant. Even against Michigan, he looks like a giant.
I'm like, man, he looks like he looks like Alien. Like Alien vs Predator.
Do we need to put Darian Porter in tier 7? Because these other 2 guys, I don't think we need to touch on. But Darian Porter, he fits the physical profile, and he's got.
Oh yeah, I actually like Darian Porter. I think he's like this is like a guy. I think he's only played corner for like 2 years.
Yeah,
and like he's still pretty raw, but like I think he would be. He could, you could even maybe argue that he gets up into 6. To be honest. I think he's good in 7.
Yeah, I guess so. Where I'm like kind of itching a little is like I wonder if Dorian Strong should be 7 with Bryant and Porter? Or do you feel strongly that he's a tier ahead of those two?
I think, yeah, honestly, maybe that makes sense. I think if you do that, that makes me feel a little bit more legitimate with the whole tier 7. That's kind of like your third round guys.
Okay.
That's probably where I do see them.
Okay. So we're good on cornerback now. Let's go on into edge, which this will be an interesting one.
This is
an
perfect.
interesting one because
I'm going to dip away for 2 seconds here because I have watched 0 edges and I would like
Okay. Yeah, so this is another one where we have a type. Like Mike Green, as much as we love Mike Green, he might not even be on the Bears board for on the field, based on the tape and everything, not even
I have serious
off-field
doubts
stuff.
that they're even considering him.
So it's like,
and
what do you do
Abdul
with
Carter
that?
would be the ultimate litmus test here because he
Right.
does not fit what they want.
No, he doesn't. But I hope and pray that if somehow Abdul Carter was on the board at 10, Dennis Allen, Ryan Poles is just like, Dennis Allen, shut the hell up. We're taking Abdul Carter. You'll
Dennis
find out.
Allen was
You'll
part
figure
of
it out.
the. He was a coach on the staff that took Von Miller, so I think he.
Yeah,
I think he'd give, but
yeah, I think he would too. But yeah, but I don't think Mike Green is necessarily that guy. And James Pierce is pretty solid against the run, but he plays the run well, but he's slighter. So what is he going to do it there? Braden Swinson's a little bit bigger and plays the run well, but doesn't. Even though I really like Braden Swinson, he doesn't.
I just don't think he fits. I
Dennis
liked him, but I just don't think it didn't quite jibe right to me.
Ezra probably not. Scourton was 257. That was smaller than we expected. So it's like that's not even a great fit. Princely doesn't play with any type of power. He's not on their board.
Dude, honestly, I was impressed by how well he played the run this year, but still, he's not the type of like honestly, I might be the highest person in our project on Princely. I have a near first round grade on him, but like
I like him. I like him, Ezraku, like Green, Pierce. I don't think there's like any chance that the Bears draft him. So how do we tier those guys? Like, because they're good players.
I think they're 5, right?
5. It was 5. 5 was
here. Let's take a look at the larger picture. So 5 was like Kenneth Grant, Tyleik Williams. But maybe I don't know, because if we're sitting here saying our board is we're at the top of tier 5, and our best player available is James Pierce. Or I guess we have these D tackles ahead of him anyways, but
yeah, I think they would be in 6 almost. I think they would be in 6.
I'm with you.
Which is stupid because they're really good players. But so I'd put Pierce there. I'd maybe put Swinson in 5. I think Swinson fits a little bit better than like Pierce does, and definitely Ezraku. Scourton probably 5. I think he fits a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then Princely.
I'm okay putting Princely 5 if you are. I'm just
if you want to put, he's kind of in between. I think there's an outside chance there, so I'm fine with 5 there. Okay. But then I think Shamar Stewart and Michael Williams would be 4, because I think they'd both be 4, even though we're obviously lower on them.
God.
I would not be.
I like Michael a lot. I don't like Shamar. So that's my sigh there was about Shamar, to be clear.
Yeah, and I'm almost like the opposite. I don't like either of them, to be honest. But I would almost, if they are going to pick one, I would prefer Stewart, just because I think his ceiling is higher. And like, just if you're going to take a swing on a good run defender who needs to learn how to pass rush, I'm going to take a swing on the guy who had a 10 RAS score. But I think I would be, even though we have him in 4, which is that in a trade back you get him, I would be disappointed with both those guys even in a trade back.
Okay, so I think Oladejo and Jackson both fit 5. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, I think 6 only because I think they're a step below. Well, maybe Oladejo in 5. And then maybe Landon Jackson in 6, because I think as a prospect, he's just a lower level prospect. I wouldn't want to put him in the same tier as Scourton and Swinson.
Let's do both 6 then, because I think Oladejo has so much growing to do too. Still, even though I love his tape and I love what I see, he's played edge for 1 season.
Right.
So there's probably some unseen stuff there that's like, okay, well, he doesn't even know how to do this.
Yeah. And then I would almost put all these guys: Gelati, Ivy, Sawyer, Jones, Birch, Tuimoloau. I would put all those guys in the same tier. I know we have a large gap from 68 to 92, but I'd almost put them all in the same tier, which would maybe be, I guess, 7.
I have a
I would say all those
Yeah.
guys fit what they want.
I have a dilemma.
Okay.
I think Jack Sawyer is almost exactly what Dennis Allen is looking for. Like to a T. I have a hard time putting him below
Okay.
6, maybe even at 5, just because I don't know if they're going to pass on him in the 40s, because when I watch his tape and I think through what does Dennis Allen want, he is it.
I'm fine with that. I think I had the highest grade on Jack Sawyer, so I'm fine with putting him in at 5, and then putting the rest of the guys in either 6 or 7, whatever you want to put.
I think Jaloti needs to be 7, and same with Ivy, because there's the questions with his athleticism now.
Yeah.
And then so if we're talking, so those are kind of tier 7 right there, is like weird fits.
And then Jones and Birch are just, to a T what Dennis Allen wants. So it's like both those guys, I would put them very similarly, and we have them ranked almost exactly the same. And you could probably throw JT in that mix too.
It's funny that you guys consolidated on Jack Sawyer, because he probably is one of the prospects that we have like the biggest variance of. Like, so you guys both have a 7.3 on him, and Tom has a 6.2, and like that's the difference between being like near like a tier 4 versus like tier 7, 8.
Hey, and I totally get why Tom hates him. Like I do. But I also like when I was grading these guys, I put on my Dennis Allen glasses and said, what do I want? And was looking for that. So like if I'm running the defense, I don't want Jack Sawyer.
Yeah.
But for what Dennis Allen's going to ask his edge rushers to do, he makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
But so
that's why I had like a high grade on Savion Jones too. I liked Savion Jones. I didn't love him. I think he's a top 100 prospect just based on his size and athleticism. And that's it. The tape isn't really that great. So it's like, but like you put on your Dennis Allen glasses, it's like I could see him fall in love with Savion Jones, like easily.
So do we think that's tier 6 or 7?
I think they could be in 7. I think if we have Gelati and Ivy in 7, I think those guys all make sense with 7.
Yeah, and I think JT is way too high on some boards right now, but
I mean, we have him 9 too. He's like in the top 50 on some people.
Yeah, I don't get so on Brandon Thorne's episode with Josh Simmons was talking about I had to learn to start varying my sets, because if I didn't in practice, JT would just eat my lunch. And you can see that on tape. He is building his pass rush plan in the first quarter for the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how far that gets you in the NFL.
Yeah, agreed.
And then Steve, are there any other guys here? I haven't watched any of these last 5. Are there any other that you think are worth tiering within this?
No, I don't think so. I think John Joyner fits what they want, but he's not worth putting in a tier. And then these other guys kind of I don't think they really fit as well.
Okay. All right, then let's move it on over to linebacker, and I'll be taking the lead on this one because this was one of my positions. Now, I don't think Jalen Walker can be above tier 5. I don't think you're taking him balls in the second round, and you're just well, we can't pass on him.
And I mean, I'd be shocked if they took a linebacker in the first round, even a trade back. I like Gian Campbell. He does a lot of things really well, and the athleticism is so appealing, and he's just a violent player, so I like that. But man, I would be shocked if he was on the Bears board. Well,
honestly,
on the Bears board.
I don't know if they take Jihad Campbell at 42. I don't know if they take him at 50. I don't know if they take him till 72. If he's sitting there staring them in the face at 72, maybe they would. But so I mean, I'm just gonna put him in tier 7, I guess. Okay. Just spitballing it there. Swessinger, I think Dennis Allen probably loves Swessinger.
I think Swessinger and Paul, he would like both of them.
So
from the little I've watched.
I think I'll put them in the same tier as Campbell at 7 because I think that they probably are better fits than Campbell for this defense. But I don't know if they're going to really be interested in a linebacker that early. Then Demetrius Knight, I don't think he really fits what Dennis Allen wants. So you're probably talking tier 8 at that point. Barrett Carter fits, but I don't know if they're. I'm gonna put both him and Jack Kaiser at 8 and stop it there because I think both those Carter and Kaiser has some really nice coverage instincts that I think Dennis Allen might really like.
Okay.
Let's move it on over to.
Ooh, this should be a fun one.
Center.
What a great class.
Well, we got one name to talk about here, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Wilson's really good.
Yeah.
And even though they have a center, like I think Jared Wilson does have some. He hasn't done it, but I could see him playing guard. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism. Like I could see them, using him as kind of like a swing interior offensive line. I think he's just, and like we have him at 70. I think that's too low. I think he's a top 50 player in this draft. I think I had like the highest grade on him, so I would put him in tier. Oh, is that 5? Like top of the second round? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I just wrote it down just so I kind of keep track of it. 3 is like stay. 3 is like stay and pick.
Yeah.
4 is trade down from those picks. 5 is like our second round picks.
Yeah.
6 is like a trade down from those, and then 7 is like 75.
Okay, so like 5 or 6. I wouldn't go any lower than 6.
Because I think if you I like Jared Wilson, and I was before they signed Drew Dahlman, I was fully prepared for them to take him at 41, but now I'd be disappointed if they took him at 41. Just be like, but if they traded back to 50 to 60, I'd be okay, I can live with that then.
Dahlman really is only on technically a 2-year contract. It's most likely you want to see him, stay beyond that. You extend him, but you could draft Jared Wilson and then have him take over. Jared Wilson probably is a guy who needs to sit on the bench, but has so much potential. But I'm fine with 5 or 6. I'm fine with 6.
Yeah.
If you want to put him in 6, I think that makes sense.
So I think at the end of the day, for my gut, it's like if I'm drafting a player at 41 who isn't playing this year, I need picks back.
Yeah,
I need a trade down to make that okay.
Yeah. And then we just have a whole bunch of other just guys.
Yeah. So we'll go to probably just kicking right over to offensive guard now. And we can let's just do offensive guard and tackle because there's not many guards to talk about. We'll do them together.
Yeah, because there are a lot of them. Yep, there we go.
Okay.
So this is what I'm interested in because it seems like you guys are lower on him or weren't talking about him when we were first kind of in that conversation. And I've seen him getting mocked in ahead of us, going 7 or 8.
Yeah, people love him.
He's really athletic.
Yeah,
and he's young, so he's a true junior, I believe, and really athletic and ascending tape. So he had decent tape in 2023 and then better tape in 2024. So you're hoping that is just going to continue. So I get why he's going to go in the top 10, and he probably will go in the top 10. And I get it. And Q, I know you said earlier today that you would not want him at 10. I would be okay with him at 10. So I would almost put him in at 3, but I understand if you want to put him in 4.
It's not that I don't want him at 10. I don't want him at 10 over Will Campbell.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Now, Luke, you said you're interested in this. I'm just going to give you my 2 cents on it. People, in my opinion, I'm just a guy on the internet, but in my opinion, people overvalue pass blocking and undervalue run blocking. And Membau's run blocking is extremely up and down. There are too many inexplicable moments on the tape where I'm like, why isn't he being the aggressor here? Why isn't he getting his hands and trying to drive? Why is he just kind of trying to get in the way and not do more here for me to pull him higher in my rankings than I did? Mm-hmm. His pass protection is really strong. It's really nice, gives him a really nice floor. But I'm sure Ben Johnson will be the first to tell you run blocking is just as important, and people tend to overlook it.
Yeah, and the Bears, Ben Johnson. I mean, we're going to be a run-first team essentially.
Yeah,
this year. So if you're not a good run blocker, I don't think you're not
Or
going to
even
board.
it's not even bad or good to me. It's what's your mindset as a run blocker, and that's where I have questions about Membao. I don't feel like he's consistently trying to dominate people.
Yeah, and he also plays right tackle, and like of course he can move to left tackle, but you're not gonna move Darnell right. I think you have Darnell right at right tackle. He's sticking there, so you'd have to drafting him would require him to move sides, which is just more to the projection that you already have. So
and that is important. That part, the way he fits in the Bears is part of this. Do we think that kind of pushes him into that fourth tier?
I think 4 makes sense. I think in the same tier as Connolly makes sense.
Okay.
If you get him to trade down, I think that is beautiful.
So what about
he's 3.
You think he's
3? Membu?
Mm-hmm. I think he's 3 for all my complaints about him.
I felt like you were leading the chart.
You can.
I was just trying to explain my grade.
You talked us both into it, and then you're like, "You guys are wrong."
Yeah,
I think 3. Sorry, I got on my
soapbox
about I think he's gotten overrated in this process, but at the same time, I don't think you pass those traits.
Yeah,
I think it's a traits thing. It is a traits thing.
Yeah.
All right, now Ursary. I think I don't know if we have another tier 4 here. Steve, tell me what you think.
Maybe Ursary. I like Ursary a lot. I don't know where your grade was at. I don't remember seeing it. But I like Ursary a lot. But I think he'd beat 5. I think he'd beat 5.
Yeah. Now the only I said that, and then I realized I would put Kelvin Banks 4. I know I'm probably differing from you on that. I just think he's the best offensive guard in the class.
That's fair. Yeah. I would put him at 5, but if you want to put him at 4, I'll concede to you.
All right, but call me out next time on one because you need to get your way on one of these. So I'm going with 4 here, but the next one is all you.
I'm picking my battles for the guys I really like.
I think that logically, from where I've seen him projected and just how we feel about him, I think it probably makes sense for Ursary also just being a tackle to probably be at that 4 spot. Do you think he's going to go roughly 25 in the draft?
I think he does. I know in mock draft simulators he's always available at 39. I don't think he's going to be available at 39. I think he's too athletic and his run blocking tape is really good. I think he's a perfect fit for the Bears. So honestly, I might use it here. If we're putting Banks in 4, we'll put in Ursary in 4.
I'm okay with that because guys with the offensive tackle traits don't get out of the first round.
Right, and I actually really like him at guard, to be honest, because I think he's got some hip flexibility issues that are going to give him issues at tackle.
Yeah.
So I would put him at left guard and talk about a guy who can block outside zone, which is what the Bears are going to want. I think he's such a perfect fit for the Bears. So yeah, I think it makes sense. If the Bears traded down to 20, let's say the Broncos trade up for Warren or something, I don't know, and they picked Ursary at 20, that would be considered a reach by many, and I'd be like, no, I love that. I think that's a perfect fit. You give him a chance to stick a tackle, let him compete with Braxton, and if Braxton wins out, then you have a swing tackle and then interior offensive line backup too. So I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now, what tier did we put Jared Wilson in?
We put 6.
6. So does Gray Zabel go ahead of Jared Wilson?
So yeah, I think he would. It's kind of where you're going to play him. He's not a tackle. We haven't listed him as tackle, but he's not a tackle. He's a center or guard. I'm sure some teams have him at center, some teams have him at guard. I don't know whether the Bears would have him, but I think because he has that flexibility to play both, that he gives you a little bit more. So maybe 5 for Zabel. Okay. I don't think it would make sense to trade.
I see tagged to that, our 2 second-round pick slot.
Yeah, I think he goes first round pretty easily. Maybe not easily, but I think he goes at the end of the first round. And I just don't see a scenario where the Bears trade back and then draft a guard only guy in the first round, because you're basically saying this guy's not going to play.
Yeah, this is a Cody Mock type guy. He's just not going to.
Yeah, Ursary makes sense because you could potentially play tackle.
Yeah,
where Zabel, I don't think can do that.
Now, I think Donovan Jackson belongs in that same tier, 5. If he had played more tackle, I think he'd be 4 just because, again, I don't think guys with the traits get out of the first round, and he has the traits. But I'm going to call him 5 just because he played almost exclusively at guard till this year.
Yeah. I think most teams probably view him as a guard.
And then this is where the conversation gets interesting again, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if Frazier and Savanea and Millum are on the same tier as Jackson and Zabel.
Yeah, no, I think they're below. And I really like Miles Frazier, but I'm surprised he's this high in our list. And
that
I think
might have been
probably
me.
had the
I
highest.
watched another game yesterday and was like, okay,
Yeah.
I see it. So
Yeah.
I was like, I upped his grade some.
I mean, he's being criminally underrated. Let's say that he's in like the 150s on most like boards, at least outside the top 100, and he deserves top 50 recognition, even if he doesn't end up in the top 50. I think he's probably in between like 50 and 75. But yeah, I think Frazier, 7 a.m. Milam are in the same tier, but yeah, 6, I'd say.
6.
And then Booker, like we have him low on our board, but it's mostly just because the athleticism. It's mostly just because he does not fit what the Bears really want.
Honestly, I think he's 7.
I think he's 7.
You can't run outside zone with him with Drew Dahlman. You have to run outside zone.
Right. Yeah. So 7 or even off the board, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with 7 there.
I
still haven't watched Henry Jones.
I'd say
I'm going to do
Booker's
it.
a guy that, I remember a month ago people were saying on tape alone, like Bears could consider taking him at 10, which I mean, it's a great time. But even then, like he's probably a name that if he's there at pick 75.
Luke, I took some shit on Twitter before the combine from multiple people about saying I think Tyler Booker is a 2nd-round pick and talk to me after the combine.
Yeah.
I was one of those people, so I have to apologize. You were right on that one.
You didn't give me shit over it. There were some people who were like, "You're an idiot for thinking this." And
I might not have given you shit directly, but I did give other people shit on Twitter for the same take. So I do need to apologize. I was wrong on that one.
And then Emory Jones, I think you were just saying, Steve, you didn't get the chance to get back to him, but I mean, I don't even know where he's going in mocks and stuff. I believe in this kid's talent and his demeanor.
Yeah,
this guy wants to play football and he wants to kill people. So I'm like, when I pair that with he has like a 9 RAS score. He has all these traits. I'm just like, this dude could be a monster at guard.
So do you want to put him in 6 or are you going to put him in 7?
I want to put him in 6.
Go for it.
Okay.
Trapillo's nice, but yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, Isaac Trapillo, I think, makes a lot of sense for the Bears as a guy maybe you can get at pick 72, and then you kind of he's your swing tackle. He plays right tackle for Boston College, but maybe he could compete with Braxton Jones, and then worst case you have a swing tackle. I think if you get a long term, even if you get a swing tackle at 72, that's not a bad selection.
It's probably like tier 8 though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, I think 7.
You think 7? Even do you think he has guard versatility, or are you just grabbing his attack?
I would say 8. Yeah, no, because I don't think he has guard versatility. He's too tall and too slight. Ratledge,
and I did watch some of them yesterday, and I liked him a lot. But I mean, I was questioning whether I thought he could play guard, and that kind of impacts his value.
I think this is the first player that we have tier 8'd. Feels like a weird precedent.
I think we did some others.
We might have. I think in the edge.
It was probably it was an
edge was pretty deep. Okay, and this is another deep group. It feels like I've heard Tate Ratledge's name a lot in the last little bit.
Yeah, I put him in 7. I think we didn't like his tape as much as other people do, and I think he's not a very good run blocker. So
I came around to him a fair amount this year. The last 2 years I hated him. I was like, I don't see it with him, and this year I was like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of growth here, which made me like him a lot more. But I'm good with him in 7. I think that makes sense.
Cool.
I mean, even like our grades just in our spreadsheet are much lower than like the national. Right? Yeah. So even if you came around on him a little bit, you're still a little bit lower than normal. I think 7 makes sense. Jalen Rivers is a guy I really like, but I don't think he's not as unathletic as Tyler Booker, but he's kind of in that same. I don't think he fits what they want, but he's a really good player. So I'd go maybe 8 or 9, 8 for him. And then the only other 2 guys that are here, Jalen Travis, I think makes a lot of sense, and Marcus Mbao. I soured on Marcus Mbao a little bit. I think he probably is, I think he is a top 100 player in this class probably, but he's athletic enough to kind of fit the need. But I just don't know where you play Marcus Mbao. I don't think he's a tackle, but I also don't think he's a guard. Like maybe he's a center. I just don't know what to do with Marcus Mbao.
I would make a case for him to be 7 because I don't care that. I don't know what to do with him. I watch that guy's tape and I say I will find a spot for that guy because he's gonna figure stuff out.
Yeah, I like that. And then you could put Travis in 8 probably.
Yeah. I think I'm like good on the rest of these guys.
Yeah, I think we're
like Kandra is the only other, I haven't watched Nelson, but Kandra's the only guy who I'd consider, but I don't think he's more of a 125 guy to me. So
yeah, I think we're good here.
Okay, then let's get to running back.
I'm excited to see this because I trust your opinion a lot, and I see a lot. I feel like this group has, there's like 6 or 7 guys that can be, at your 3 spot through your 5 spot, and it's like kind of like a pick your flavor type thing.
Yeah.
So
but I don't really know. I haven't watched any tape other than Genty once I decided that I want us to take Genty.
So based on the grades I've seen, me and Steve have polar opposite opinions on the Ohio State running backs.
I think we got them flipped.
In my case, I love Quinshon Judkins' creativity that I saw during the college football playoff that I saw from him at Ole Miss. What I saw from him at Ohio State in the regular season was rough. But I'm willing to trust that what I saw on his Ole Miss tape and during the college football playoff was him running at his best. And what I saw in the Ohio State regular season was him running as the coaches wanted him to. And so for me, I adore what I saw from Quinshon Judkins in those two scenarios. And I see a lot with Travion Henderson. I also see a slider build who runs like he's Marshawn Lynch. And that scares me. And I don't love his vision. I see him running in front of his blocks a lot, which is it's a different. Some people say that the opposite. It's very subjective when you're talking about running back vision. But to me, I saw him running in front of his blocks more often than I liked.
Yeah, I didn't love his vision that much either. I think the reason that Travion Henderson, there's a couple of reasons I'm high on Travion Henderson. It's not to do with his vision. It's with his explosiveness. He's a big play, just kind of waiting to happen. I think you put him in an outside zone scheme where he could just do one cut, get upfield. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then most importantly, the reason I'm high on him is the work he does in third down. He's a legit receiver. He's probably the best pass blocking running back on here.
Best I've ever seen in college.
Like, he's so good. And
I've only watched 3 years of him, but he's incredible.
But yeah, I mean, he is such a good pass blocker and a good receiver. You can split him out wide. You can be so creative. I think Ben Johnson's gonna love Travion Henderson. Even if as a runner, maybe I would probably have just pure running ability. Maybe Henderson and Judkins pretty close, and maybe even Judkins slightly higher potentially. But all the other things that he does, and the shiftiness and the big, the explosive plays, I think for that reason, that's why I have Henderson over him. I think, well, I don't know. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Kind of what kind of running back do you think the Bears are going to draft? Like, let's not talk about Genty because Genty's kind of a unicorn. Like, if they don't get Genty, or let's even say Hampton too. Let's say they miss out on both those guys. Are they going to go for the more of that third down back receiving pass blocking guy like Henderson, or they want to get a Quinshon Judkins who's going to get those tough early down yards, or like a Damian Martinez or a Quinshon Judkins, like someone like that? Like, which direction do you see them going? Because I go back and forth, kind of what they're looking for. They have Swift already, who's kind of that third down back, but I don't really like.
Where my mind goes.
I really don't like DeAndre Swift. Like, I want to place him in that role. So.
All my homies hate DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. Where my mind goes with this is DeAndre Swift's a 1 year thing here, right? Yeah. This next year probably, and Drew Dahlman might be a 1 or 2 year thing. This running back you're taking is a 4 year thing, and I don't see any reason why Quinshon Judkins won't get better in pass pro and as a receiver. He has a lot of traits. He's a very natural pass catcher, very natural hands. I think he has the upside to be a 3 down back. I don't think you're talking about a true power back. I think you're talking about a guy who could be everything, while Travion already can give you that third down stuff. So when I'm talking about this next year, I'm saying, okay, well, we need the guy, the early down back. But into the future, I do think you trust your coaches to get Quinshon up to speed to play third downs.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, I think ultimately they're going to end up in the same tier, right? Like,
Yeah, it's all an argument
like,
for not because they're probably both tier 4,
I think
right?
I think this is a great conversation. Like, I love this conversation, but I think what comes down to it, they're going to be in tier 4, right? Yeah, but I think we just we have different preferences. I think both would be good picks. I didn't love what Crenshaw drug. I felt like he did make guys miss, but didn't always turn it into more than that. Like he'd make a guy miss and then get 1 extra yard.
Yeah, he'd get a little silly with it
Yeah. So,
sometimes,
but yeah, I see what you're saying though. Yeah, there's no reason to say he wouldn't get better. But I do think if you're looking at this running back, those got 2 guys in a tier, and then I wouldn't put Tootin in that tier with
no,
them.
I think
he's clearly below.
Yeah, I agree. I think Martinez belongs with Tootin in the tier, in the next tier.
Yeah, I really like Damon Martinez, and like honestly, I think I might have had a higher grade on Martinez than Judkins. I don't remember if that
I think
they
you
were
did.
close.
I think
I view them similar. I view them pretty similarly because they're bigger backs, early down
now,
work.
man,
Who knows? We'll see if they get better, on third down.
I'll tell you, I was a little lower on Martinez going into yesterday than this, and then I watched like 3 or 4 Miami games yesterday for other teams, for the team that was playing against Miami, and they were all defense tape somehow, and I swear, I noticed Damian Martinez more than I noticed other players because it was just like, holy shit, he just did. Oh my god, where was this when I was watching? So I went back and watched some more. I was like, okay, yeah, this guy is really freaking good.
Yeah.
He's more than just a power back, like I thought he was. So I'm with you. He belongs up there.
Yep, and when he was at Oregon State before that, and at Oregon State they ran a lot of outside zone. So even though they didn't do it at Miami, like I think he proved, and he's had a 90 PFF grade each of his 3 years in college as a true freshman, sophomore, and junior. He had a 90 PFF grade. Like he's being slept on a lot. So yeah, I'd put him in that tier 5, and then I think well we got our number 88 to 98 kind of all grouped into like one group. I think maybe Johnson, Neal, Harvey, maybe in one tier, and then Scappo, Sampson, Gordon, and in another tier. So 6 and then 7. How do you feel about that?
Is there any other player you have an inkling of making a case for at 5?
In 5, I mean, Caleb Johnson fits exactly what the Bears. I think Caleb Johnson. He's not my favorite player, but I think the Bears will like him. He runs. I mean, Iowa is all outside zone.
Yeah. See, I don't know if they will. I was hoping you were going to say RJ Harvey because I was going to be on that train, but we'll put him in 6. But I want to keep Johnson at 6 just because
I think he's
everyone I talk to says I don't like him. I think the Bears will like him, but I don't like him, which makes me think the Bears just might not like him. The Bears might be seeing what everyone else is seeing, going, we don't really like him. So
man, he was getting like RB2 hype at one point this year, and just never saw that.
I mean, so I think Scatabo, Sampson, Gordon belong a tier below Johnson, Neal, Harvey. What do you think?
No, I think so. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think Scabo's fun to watch, man. His tape is so much fun, but like the athleticism just isn't there. He's not an NFL level athlete. Like he could maybe carve out a role, but that's kind of about it.
And I want to put one guy in tier 8 here. I don't know if it will matter. I don't know if tier 8 will make our top 100 here.
Yeah.
But Jaden Blue is the Michelob Light version of Jahmyr Gibbs in my mind. And I think the Bears will love him. So I
think they met with him at some point. I want to say
they?
I could be wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong. I thought I saw that.
Okay. All right. So we're good on running backs then. Unless did you want to get into in there?
I mean, we can. If you want to throw him an 8, go for it. I'm not going to argue too much about it. I mean, I think also Brashard Smith, I liked him too. I'd throw him and Giddens an 8. I think then call it a day. And the rest of the guys didn't really do much for me. At least Smith has the long speed and has the receiving ability where he can carve out a role in the NFL. With these other guys, I'm not so sure that they can.
Okay.
Am I to understand that there are 4 running backs that we're okay with in the first round this year?
I guess that's what that means. Yeah. So,
and also, I haven't watched at all, but is O'Marion Hampton really a guy that we're like, if we sit and stay at 10, am I supposed to be fired up about that?
You know what, Luke?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think we
Do we
kinda
need to move
knock
everyone
down
down
each of
one
these
tier?
guys one slot. I think we
Yeah,
overlooked that. I think
we screwed that up.
because
Yeah.
I don't want Henderson or Judkins in the first round.
Yeah, I would move everyone down one tier. Yeah.
Oh, so
That's all
Hampton's
it-
like a trade down to like a 15 guy.
I think, yeah, I mean,
But he
if
is
they
nice.
took him,
He's like
if they
that.
took him at 10, I would understand it because I think he's really good. I would be much happier if they traded down someone and got him. So you can probably put him in 4.
Who?
But I don't.
Henderson, you're saying?
Hampton.
Hampton.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think you keep him in play at 10 on it
Okay.
because I mean I think I'm not going to love it at 10, but
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think there deserves to be a 2-tier difference between him and the Ohio State guys. The Ohio State guys are tier 5, so that to me that makes Hampton tier 3.
I'm good with that. Yep. All right.
Okay. Dang.
All right, then let's get to safeties, which should be interesting. Luke, where is too soon to take Xavier Watts for this team?
Dude, I ended up having a pretty similar grade on Xavier Watts as I do on Makuba and Starks. Like he's a little bit below both of them. Like they were kind of in the tier of their own. But like I don't know. Like it's tough. I think if somehow they end up with pick like 25, like I really don't think it's crazy for them to do that. But I do think personally I like him a little bit more than I like the other two above him a little bit more. But I think that maybe Watts is like would stand alone on. It's tough, especially considering like if I don't know how you guys want to argue it, but like it wouldn't blow my mind if the Bears sat and picked Malachi Starks at 10. Like I think he fits a lot of what like you could imagine Ennis Allen doing, and he's been getting that kind of hype. I think if Malachi Starks and Makuba are going to be 4, like Watts is probably in that a little bit of a tier, that next tier, so he'd have to be 5.
Okay, and so I'm interested in you saying that with Starks because like I know Starks he can do so much and be so versatile, but like. I think I could be wrong on this because safety has never been my position that I fully understand that great. But I think of those New Orleans safeties as always being like aggressive ball hawks. And that's not really what I see in Malachi Starks. I see a top of the defense, a stopper in Malachi Starks, whereas with Watts and Makuba, I see like those rangy ball hawks who are going to take risks.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why like I had a higher grade on Makuba, and if you know you probably are right. Like the guys that we were talking about, like Starks just isn't like an instincts like game changing, make a play on the ball type guy. He isn't. He is just more like a solid like. Well, like I said, I think he projects. I don't think he can play free safety in the NFL. I think he has to be like a Swiss Army knife, like use him in different ways type player, but pretty much strictly a strong safety at the NFL level. And that's more because of like I don't know if he was the like greatest in like coverage, to be honest.
Yeah. And Steve, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I just, I mean, this guy had this year the ball production wasn't there, but he's had ball production in his career. So I think teams were kind of like shying away from him because he was the Georgia's best defensive back. So I kind of disagree there. I still think he's good enough where he's in the tier 4. I don't think we can move him down to tier 5.
Yeah, my question was more about the thought of moving him up to 3.
Moving him up to 3. Yeah. I would probably have them in 3 personally, but I'm not going to fight hard about that because it's like right on the border. Like he'd be maybe a 3, maybe a 4. So I'm fine with keeping him at 4, and mostly because of the position. Like I think, and also because I think you can trade back and get him. I agree. I don't think he's, in order for a safety to be a top 10 prospect, you have to be, just like otherworldly. Safeties just don't go in the top 10. Look at like Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton go in the top 10, even though he's a very good safety. So I think just the nature of the position itself, it's you take them in the teens and 20s if they're a first round prospect. So I'm fine with 4.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And I think if that's the case, just based on my own rankings, I think Xavier Watts is kind of in a tier alone at 5, unless if you wanted to make an argument for Kevin Winston, like I could hear that, but to some extent after that, like for me, I think I'm really low on Mick Emenwari.
Yeah, I think also Emenwari, like I think he does like we have him at 52, which is lower than a lot of people, and I don't think, but I also think he's gonna go in the first round because he's a 10 RAS score. Like he's a crazy athlete, and
I mean,
crazy athletes don't get out of the first round, and his tape's
his
not bad.
ability
Like
to widen running backs out to the edge is insane. Like he holds real value as a run defender, even if he never figures it out in coverage.
Now,
like
the question for the Bears would be if they like Nick Emenwari, do they like him at linebacker?
That's
like,
it.
Dennis Allen. Like he's a Dennis Allen
not
linebacker.
He is not a cornerback. If you're asking him to play coverage in the slot, you're at a disadvantage. Like he actually like there's a reason he didn't run the change of direction drills at the combine, because if he does, then he's got a ton of red on his card. There is no doubt about it. His change of direction just isn't great. He's a play downhill, take on blocks type guy, and like because of that, like I just don't even know how that translates to the Bears defense. You kind of have like basically your nickel is your base. So you have 2 linebackers that are going to be like middle of the field type guys for you. You don't really have an outside linebacker type position.
Yeah. I mean, I
think 6 makes sense.
6. Yeah, that's kind of where I was about to go with that too. And I mean, the only other guy I could even make a case for at 5 is Malachi Moore, but we'll get to that later. Steve, you wrote the report on Jonas Sanker. Where are you thinking for him?
So what is 6 again? What's the criteria?
Yep.
So 5
is sit and pick round. At second. 6 is trade down from second. So like pick 50.
I'm picturing him as more of like a pick at 72 kind of guy.
So you're thinking like tier 7.
Tier 7. I want to say like I think all these next kind of couple guys are in that same range. So
I agree.
If we put like another guy in 6, then maybe I'll argue for Jonas Sanker being 6. But I think all these guys are kind of in the 7 range.
Do we think? Do we think they all belong in the next range, or all belong in the next 2 ranges?
I have Sanker and Winston ahead of Emenwari. So like that's just my food for thought. I think that Emenwari would probably be aptly rated on my board at 7, but that doesn't mean that I don't think there's a handful of guys at 6.
I think with Emenwari, the crazy athleticism is there. So if you traded, I think 6 makes sense, because if somehow the Bears traded back from 39, picked him at like 45, 50 or whatever, I think you'd have to be excited about that, because he's just such a crazy athlete.
No, I would not.
He's just
fake it. I would fake it, but I would be pissed, dude.
A crazy athlete who's only who's a true junior. Like you could be like, okay, he's not a perfect player right now, but you will teach him how to play a little bit of safety.
The thing is
learn
to talk linebacker. I mean,
yeah, like
well, that's fine.
He reminds me of a Georgia cornerback like 2 years ago came out, freak athlete, but like
Kelee Ringo,
exactly. He reminds me of Kelee Ringo in that, like, I think that the way that they tested, they're going to end up with a 10 RAS because they're cheating the system. They didn't do the change of position stuff. And then they're going to score 10 out of 10s for being big and huge, even though I think we would all agree that being big and huge for the position you're testing at is a downside rather than a benefit. Like, I don't think it's good that you're 6'4", 225 to play cornerback. That being said, unlike Kelee Ringo, I think if you make Nick Emenwari strictly like a big box safety, like a Cam Chancellor, I think you can have success with him doing that. So I'd be a little bit higher on like his potential from there. But like, I really like I don't know.
Is that kind of like a Von Bell though? Because Dennis Allen has history with Von Bell.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Okay, I would pitch then that you have a tier of 6 being Emenwari, Jonas Sanker, and Kevin Winston. I have a pretty nice grade on Lathan Ransom as well.
I'm okay with that. I mean, you could talk me into Ransom. I haven't watched any of them, so I mean, the floor is yours on him.
I mean, he's a guy who really has like no ball production. Like he's a big hitter. He's an enforcer. Like the ball production just isn't there for me to I like him as a player, but he's a good football player. But if you don't take the ball away on as a defensive back, I don't love you, you know. So I think he would be maybe 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Winston's kind of the same way, but I think Lathan Ransom's been in college for 17 years. Winston's only been in for 2.5, and one was injured. So I think there's more potential there.
Now, I want to make a case for Malachi Moore in tier 5. I don't.
Maybe watch it here. Maybe I need to watch him. I haven't actually had a ton of. I haven't seen a ton of Malachi Moore stuff.
He's a 5-year starter at Alabama who spent 4 years with Nick Saban. I mean, I think that sells itself. And then you look at his ranginess as a center fielder. This guy is probably in my opinion, the most natural deep safety in the class. But for some reason, he is in the 140s right now. He had surgery at the end of the season, which I think needs to knock him down a tier. It's not disclosed what that surgery was for. He had a back injury as a freshman, so maybe it has something to do with that. We don't know. I want to argue him tier 6 because I think the surgery should knock him down a tier here. But to me, he has the best coverage safety tape in this class, to my uneducated eyes on safety.
Whoa. Okay.
No,
Yeah. Okay, well, if that's the case, put him in 6. Yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of fine for me too. You know. I like this class. I mean, Sebastian Castro. I think there's no doubt in my mind that I think we had 8 as a 3 trade down. I don't even think he's about a 3rd round pick on Sebastian Castro. You know, I kind of like him. I think he's a linebacker for Dennis Allen. Yeah,
I think if they draft him, he's a linebacker.
Yeah, I like Sebastian Castro a lot just because he's just a good football player, and I'll figure out
exactly what
later.
It is.
Like it's just but I think he's perfect right where he is on the board, 111 to 1.
My very first note on Castro is literally football player.
Yeah. So
but I said, basically we'll strictly play nickel for you. He's got nice movement skills, but he'll get burned if someone runs a vert in the slot. But he's got great effort, plays faster than he tested. He's an attacking style. He's definitely he'll be a contributor day 1 on specials and stuff like that. And probably wouldn't hurt you if he has to step in, but I just don't know if he's a 3rd round type prospect.
Yeah.
Okay, so then just leave him off the tiers.
Yeah, I think that's probably
we're good.
Okay. So let's see. What else do
we
got?
Oh no, tight end.
Tight end.
And wide receiver. Wide receiver, I think, is ended up being a crazy one.
Okay, so Harold Fannin Jr., the ultimate debate this draft season of where on earth does this dude belong? I mean, I can go as high as probably 5 on him, as low as 7.
I think 5. I think 5 makes sense. I think
5 is second round. I don't know. I 5 is just 2nd round, right? I think he's an undersized, not super athletic guy who's just the focal point of their offense. So the offense kind of just ran through him. I thought Mason Taylor was clearly better.
What was his RAS was what?
His RAS was 7 something. It wasn't that bad.
His RAS.
I shouldn't say unathletic. I shouldn't say unathletic. He's not, but he's not for his size.
You were expecting better going into the combine.
7.78 is a fine RAS score.
Yeah,
and
I think he kind of tested. He kind of tested the way that I thought he would test too. He wasn't extremely fast, but he was fast. He was fine. He had really good short distance, and change of direction stuff, which really stuck out on tape for sure. Mm-hmm. He's I think he's top 3 youngest players in this draft, and he just led the entire nation in receiving yards and touchdowns. I think that you, as the move tight end, I think that Ben Johnson could do a lot of really cool stuff with him. And I just think that roughly, if he was going to go, I would bet that's kind of roughly where he's going in the draft. I would probably agree that grade wise, I don't know if I would love it, but I think that would probably make sense as someone the Bears could actually target at the start of the second.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do with this. I mean, he's 6. He's not. You're not gonna play him in line, like you said. So you can play him as an H-back move tight end. And if you're gonna have an H-back or move tight end who's really essentially a big slot receiver, I need a better. I basically want to compare your RAS score to the wide receivers, not to the.
Well, I mean, let's think about this from the standpoint of where you think you can get him, because if you're talking about a guy who can't play in line, you're probably only talking about 15 teams who are even considering him.
Yeah.
See, I don't think your cost to drop him from 5 to 6 is that much.
I think 6 makes sense because that'd be a trade back from from 2. That'd be like what in the 50 to 70 range.
Yeah, okay.
Let's say. I think that
I can get
makes
behind that.
sense.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe you probably won't be able to get him at 72.
And then, so does Mason Taylor belong in 5?
I would take Mason Taylor with one of our 2 second-round picks because I think he's got that kind of potential, and he's a good receiver already, and I think he's a developing blocker. But I could understand if other people didn't feel that way and wanted to put him in 6. But I think he'd go. I mean, I think Mason Taylor will go ahead of Harold Fannin because of the pedigree and the size and the athleticism. Like I think he will go in that 35 to 50 probably range. So I don't know if you can trade back and get him, but I would put him in 5. I would put him in 5. Trade back. No, I'd put him in 6. Trade back from.
Okay.
41.
But I can find that.
Okay. I will hold my
This
tongue
actually-
on him. I'm okay with him at 6. At 5, I had more issues, but at 6,
I actually was saying
I'm good.
because Steve said 5, and I was kind of like, oh my god, I probably don't know if I can give. I can.
Well,
do
I
it.
just
I wouldn't
don't know.
be that upset if they took him at 41 or 39. I wouldn't.
I
Be
have
Fair enough,
like,
and, like I would feel the same with Harold Fanning.
you guys ever have the like, you get a first impression of a player and you just can't kick it, and you try and you try and you can't. Like that's where I'm at with Mason Taylor. I'm just like, this is Jason Taylor's son. This is Zach Thomas's nephew. Why doesn't he play like his hair's on fire? Like that, I couldn't get it out of my head. But at 6, I'm good. I can live with that.
Okay.
Now, Luke, I think this is Ben Urasek. Tell me about him because I did not get the chance to watch his tape.
He's funny. He's battled some injuries, and he didn't always play for Georgia, and he really only had a very limited amount of opportunity this year. But I think anytime he's played, I've liked his game. He's a willing blocker. He works hard on that front. I don't know if he's the greatest blocker, but it's obvious that he works hard on that front. And on the receiving end, I thought that he was right up there as far as that kind of that next tier of the guys that we almost have here. I mean, for me, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, and Harold Fanning were kind of in a little bit of a tier of their own. But then from there all the way down to Terrence Ferguson, I'm trying to see if there's anyone else there. From Urasek to Ferguson, these guys were all fairly close for me. Mason Taylor, actually, as I'm looking at it now, and this is probably why I needed to go rewatch it. Mason Taylor was the only other person that was kind of in between Fanning and the rest of the group for me. But I like Arroyo, I like Evans, I like Helm, I like Ferguson. They all kind of give you different stuff. So it's a pick your poison type thing. But I would say that they're all. The thing is value wise, Mitch Evans, I wouldn't take in the second. Elijah Arroyo, I wouldn't take in the second. Gunnar Helm, I wouldn't take in the second. Terrence Ferguson, I wouldn't take in the second. And Urasek, I wouldn't take in the second. These would all almost be it goes from 6 right to 8 for me.
I think that's fair. We don't need to have someone at 7. If we don't find and I haven't watched Urasek yet, but I did see someone else. I can't remember who had him pretty high in their ranking, so he's been on my list of someone to watch. So yeah, I don't think we need to have a 7 if no one fits.
Yeah, on my list, I had Urasek, Evans, Ferguson, Arroyo, and Helm all as 4th round grades. So if it ends up being that you take them at a trade down from 72, it's probably the same thing.
Yeah. I'm good with that grade on them. I mean, a part of me wants to move Arroyo up because I think he's such a dog that he's going to figure it out. But that also disregards there's some injury risk there, and raw player plus injury risk tends to ebb badly. So I'm okay with keeping him at 8.
Yeah. I think he'd be the only one who maybe against him just because of the potential alone.
I mean, he's just
the potential
there. If he stays healthy, I'm confident he's gonna figure it out. That's where I'm at with Arroyo. But I do have quite there's the Kevin White syndrome, right? He's raw and one injury, suddenly he's out of the league in 4 years.
Yeah. I did like Arroyo. I looked at him and thought that there was things, Isaiah Likely, Evan Ingram type play to him. If there was a world where we wanted to have him stand alone at 7, that could be fine.
I mean, I'll do it.
Because also when you talk about, I think he's going to go higher than 72 because the potential is there. Like he'll go
Yeah.
in the 60s or something. So if you wanted him, you'd have to take him higher anyway.
But let the record show, world, I would be fine with Mitch Evans as well.
I like Mitch Evans a lot. I think Gunnar Helm kind of like keeps Mitchell Evans down a little. Cause you're like, well, if we miss him, we can get Helm, right? Like, so
it's actually funny you say that. I'm like, because it felt like forever that Gunnar Helm was like kind of being rated as a higher player there. I was kind of always to myself like, there's no doubt in my mind that like if you like Gunnar Helm, like you should like Mitch Evans just as much, if not maybe more. So them just being there with Ben Urasek at 8 is good for me.
Well, so on our tight end episode, we talked a little about that, and I thought I had watched a 24 game. I don't know if it might have been mislabeled or what, but it was actually a 23 game from him. So I was watching a year-old tape, and like I flipped on his 24 tape this year. It's like, oh, he got a lot better. Like, okay, and I was like, I like him a lot.
Yeah. You want to put him in 7?
I mean, I like him more than Helm.
I do too. I fully do too.
Okay, let's put him at 7.
Nice.
I'm okay with that. And we can at the end of this we'll circle back and adjust as needed if we need to, but I'm okay with that for now. Now let's get to wide receiver.
That's a big one.
Where does Burden belong?
Like for me, when I'm looking at that, this is trade. So right now, Ted McMillan is the only other person we have as a stay take at 10. Depending on whether or not you'd love that, it probably that value wise where he's going, maybe that roughly makes sense. But after that, like it's tough, man. Like I like Luka Golden, Higgins, and Kyle Williams. Like they all might be tier 4 for me. Like if they're not tier 4, then they're all just tier 5.
So
man, and
you're okay with the trade back for any of those guys in the first?
Like,
because that's what 4 is, right?
I know, but the thing is like I feel like there's going to be one of those guys that's going to end up going as first round picks. So the question is like, if that's where you get them, are you okay with drafting them there? And I think that in a perfect world, I would have them all kind of at that number 2, or sorry, at the start of the second round, like our second round picks.
Yeah, the tier 5.
So if we want, I would be fine with kind of just skipping the third tier with this group. But like,
yeah,
I know that some people would think that like Buka, Burden, and probably Golden are first round picks, and I have Higgins, Betch, and Williams all right up there with them.
I think 5 makes a lot of sense for those guys. Is like that's not where we think they belong in the draft, but that's where the Bears would start to consider them.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Is there anyone else that you think fits that? I like all these guys. I think all the other guys I've watched. Burden through Betch, but also Kyle Williams for me. And like honestly, Kyle Williams, I have the next highest grade after Ted McMillan, but it's not like discernible enough to be removed from these guys.
So I watched some Kyle Williams today after I saw that grade from you. I thought his burst was nasty. Like and his tempo to his routes was really impressive as far as like he's setting guys up and then he just flies away from them. How did he do against press? Because in the 2 games I saw, he didn't get pressed. Does he get pressed?
Doesn't get pressed a ton, but they also move him around a fair bit. So like I think that's why his versatility score was so high for me. He can get eaten up a little bit on press.
Okay. And the only other thing I noticed was like I thought he got bullied a little through the route stem of like he get kind of shoved out of bounds at times and like a little bit of awareness stuff. There was one rep where I saw him like run out of bounds on his own fruition. It was kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think on the whole too, like there's a chance he's a little bit undersized. I think he's only 185 pounds.
Yeah, he reminded me a little bit of Darnell Mooney watching him, which might have just been size based more than anything. But I don't know. I kind of think that's a 6 to me, just because I do have some questions about size.
Okay, I mean this is a guy that I'll probably end up as like a wide receiver 4 or 5 for me. So he is like he would probably value wise be like a tier 4 for me. But if the boys think just their evaluation of him, he's in that next tier down, that's fine.
Steve, what do you think?
It's so close because I think he is kind of in that between that 5 or 6. But yeah, he's really fun to watch, and like the explosiveness and everything. I do have concerns with the press, but like I feel like you're not going to be playing him on the line. He's not going to be playing X receiver for you. So like he's going to get bullied a little bit, but there are ways around and to get him kind of out of that situation, getting him in motion and stuff. And I think Ben Johnson
Where
would
does
really
he
like
fit?
him. So I want to say I'm leaning 6. I'm leaning 6 just because I think the undersizedness of it I think that'd be a little rich at 41, but not by too much.
How does he fit with Roman DJ?
I think really nicely. I mean, he's like at the end of the
He's
day, if you ask him,
right?
yeah, exactly. He is, and I don't think he was used like this a ton, but I think he is one of the better vertical threats in the class. He had the fastest like on-field time of anybody moving at the Senior Bowl. There's like he has like completely untouched cooked routes, like beating Travis Hunter like 60 yards deep, like not even within 5 yards of him. Like strictly as just that, he could be that deep threat for you. And I think he does the screen stuff well. I think he does the short stuff well. Like I think he works well in the red zone. Like I said, like he's in the tier 5 for me.
How do you feel about his effort as a blocker?
Yeah, not great.
I don't really remember.
doesn't really offer a ton as a blocker, to be honest with you.
A lot of like I don't remember Kyle Williams' blocking ability, to be honest. And so that which probably means it wasn't really like a positive or a negative, because I'm just trying to. But I think a lot of college offenses, you have him running a bubble screen as they run the ball, so it's like he's not blocking at all. Like he just doesn't have probably a lot of blocking reps.
Well, and I just asked because of the the whole no block, no rock thing. Like I think it's something that Johnson cares about. So
I think
I'm
that's
leaning towards 6 here in that.
6, yeah.
But
and that's why I think
good with that.
Yeah, 6 is trade down from 2nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 6. And that's why if we're talking blockers, I like a Manor is a really good blocker.
Yep.
So, but he's also not that good. Like Kyle Williams is a better receiver. So it's like, what do you do with that information? Like, do you put him in 6 or do you put him in 5 because he kind of fits?
I don't think I want to overvalue blocking here from a that can't be your strength. It can only be a secondary argument when we're talking about your team.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So 6 for him probably. Because I think 6 makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too.
For him, and I think if we have Kyle Williams in 6, I want Jalen Noel in 6 at least. I think I have Noel higher than Williams, but I like both of them.
Is Noel a similar kind of archetype there?
Yeah, he's a slot receiver. He's fast, twitchy. He can win vertically, but he's probably more of like a short to intermediate, winner.
Isaiah Bond's tough, man. I don't know what to think about Isaiah Bond.
What is going on with him, man? He's just tanking.
When he's moving, when he's his deep and intermediate stuff, it probably is the best in the class. He absolutely flies. And it's effortless. And he pairs that with being able to break it off and do outbreakers and comebacks and stuff extremely well too. He's played, at Alabama and at Georgia. Alabama and at Texas. He is a world-class player, but so much red flag stuff. Looks at the fastest player on the field whenever he's playing on the field and then doesn't run faster than his teammate at the combine. Everybody says that he's got legit red flags about his attitude, and he completely disappeared when Texas needed him the most. I think he got 5 total targets over the last 5 weeks of the season, including the playoffs for this team. So it's tough because the top end stuff is as good as almost any other person in the class.
Bears had him for a top 30.
They did.
Crazy. Top 30 seems to typically be something that the Bears that the Bears seem to stick to when the board starts to get a little bit deeper into it.
Where does he belong tier wise if you take out those red flags?
Strictly tape. Yeah, probably 6, honestly. But I think that those concerns are legitimate enough that he gets pushed down to 7. I think you start to look at him for the first time at 72.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Because the disappearing in big games is weird. Having to transfer schools because he yelled at coaches and stuff is true and weird. And then the last little bit, it just seems to be a lot of smoke around people interviewing him and thinking that he has legit Jeremiah Burton like type character concerns.
Okay. So is there any other receiver here we need to include?
Restrepo could be like an 8. Like he probably hurt himself a lot trading down, but he plays so much and does like played such a similar role to the Amon St. Brown role and was like so good at it that there might be a chance that the Bears see that and think they want like a similar type like technician in the slot.
Okay, I'm okay with that, Steve.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I haven't watched Jalen Lane.
He's fun. He's like the Virginia Tech quarterback was terrible. So he's like another slack guy, speedy, shifty.
Hope it
I
was
think
Dorian Strong.
Probably be in the he'd probably be in the 8, I guess.
8. Yeah, I mean, like I actually like Torrey Horton, and I know that you like Caden Prather. Like
Prather was the most surprised I've ever been watching a prospect because I was like, this guy, and then he's 6'3", 205 pounds, like true X receiver who can win vertically and beats press pretty easily, and I'm like, man, he's pretty good.
Do you think there's a chance that he's a trade down?
Yeah, throw him into 8. Why not?
Cool. All right.
And no grade on Horton.
I like Horton. I'd be fine with him being there as well.
Yeah, I think that's, and then West.
You guys can sway me. I've watched like 2 wide receivers this whole process. So, okay. So let's see. Let's get to
everyone.
That is everyone. So I'm gonna have to do a little finagling here on air to get this all to format right, but we'll go through it real quick to make sure there's nothing that we need to feel like we need to make changes to. Okay, so this was our initial rankings. These were our tiers. Final rank. Player, position, grade. That previous chart was all sorted by by what's it called? Just their rank. It like pulls in through VLOOKUPs by their final rank, so it like I can't actually sort that very well. But with this, I should be able to. Let's see. And excuse me for the dead air there, but okay.
It was so satisfying watching you shape all those columns.
I was. All right.
Let me just get this full screen again. And there we go. Okay, so tier 1, Hunter and Carter. Tier 2, Gene T and Graham. We're looking at tier 3 here.
Yeah, that's really kind of when it starts to get interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think we've done a good job there.
Yeah.
Just so for those writing it down, it might even be worth like I was writing this down afterwards. But we kind of envisioned 3 as people that you might need to learn the name of if you're thinking about us staying and taking a player at 10.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with all those players at 10. That's I think we nailed it. Like every single one of those players, I'd be very happy with.
Yeah. I'd be confused by the Ted McMillan fit, but like
I'd be confused, but I was like, okay, well,
he's
talented.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that I wouldn't change that. That makes sense.
Now 4 was in the possibility the Bears trade down from their position. This is people that maybe not at 10, but still in the first round, we think could be a target.
So what we got?
And I think this makes sense too.
Yeah, I think
like those are kind of the guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
those all fit.
The only ones that are like the really glaring weaknesses right here is Stewart and Williams, but that's just because we know we're lower on them than the NFL and we're lower on them than a lot of people. But I also think they're both athletic enough and young enough where if in a trade down, I could wrap my head around it. Like, okay, we got extra picks. We're taking a big swing. And we'll be able to fill some other holes later. So I think those
realistically, those 2 guys are first round on almost every team's board. I'm sure.
Yeah,
like those traits don't get out of the first round
for sure. Yeah, so trading down and getting them is fine. Now, if we take them at 10, that's when we get a little. That's when I get a little upset.
Oh yeah, dude. I tweeted about this about Shamar Stewart the other day. I was like, like at 10, I would be properly upset. Like I actually think that with our super value picks, like Ryan Toles has done a great job, almost never disappointing me. Like that would be, I would fight. That would be frustrating. I think this 5 looks good. My only one is that I have been seeing Braden Swinson get a lot of love as of late, especially considering apparently he fits the DA mold as well. Do we think that that's a guy that is a chance that he sneaks into the end of the first round, or that's someone that, like, do you think the Bears could consider if they traded back more in the first round?
I think I'd be surprised if he goes first round, even though I have a high grade on him. But there's got to be something. I mean, he is kind of a little bit of a late breakout, which I think a lot of people
Kyle
don't
Williams
like.
too.
Yeah, so I think he would be never rule it out, because I think he's athletic enough and like he wins with power, and like, which I think is underrated for edge guys. Like, he's a guy who can win with power but also win with speed. So and there's not a lot of guys who can usually do both. So I think it's a possibility, but I think, does he fit the DA mold? I don't know. He's kind of like right on the line, I would say.
Really? Okay.
I would say his frame says he could.
He could, and he's good against the run. He sets a strong edge, so like he's got that one. But I don't know, like, if you move him closer to the line, of like more heads up over the tackle, I don't know if he'd be as good against the run than he is, when he's playing more outside the tackle, if that makes sense. So yeah. Even though I hope that Dennis Allen likes him, because I think if you got him at 39 or 41, that's the guy who actually has some juice and with speed around the edge, and also can win with power and play the run well. So I hope so, but I don't know. I'm on the fence there.
I think he stays in 5 to me, just because.
Yeah, I wouldn't move him up.
Princely, Sawyer, and then a bunch of other guys in tier 6 who you think will be there at 41. Like, I don't see the Bears moving back into the first round for Swinson, because there's so many guys to have at 39, 41.
Actually, and honestly, I think the next 2 guys in our list is another good example of, like, why it's so hard. I've seen both of these guys projected as first round picks.
So these 2, I think you had stepped away for the edge portion, but I mean, these 2 won't be here for the tier we have them. Like Pearson, Ezraku, like they will not. We can't envision Dennis Allen taking these guys, so they're just way down for us.
Right.
James Pierce, what is it? Undersized, flasher.
Yeah, he's like what 2.
Yeah, he's like
almost
240, but he plays the run well. I think he was like 245, something like that. He plays the run well. He's such a weird evaluation. Like, sometimes they had him like wider than a wide 9, and he's just running in a straight line at the quarterback, and it's very weird. And I don't know. There's
some interesting flags on his tape from where you watch of like,
and then you have concerns about like there's rumors that like the people in Tennessee didn't like him, like work ethic stuff. Like,
I have seen that actually. Yeah,
he ran in a hoodie at the combine.
Yeah, So I don't know what to do with James Pierce. He could very well be a very good NFL player, but he also could be out of the league.
Yeah, I think it can go either way with him, and like to draft a guy who has some of the concerns that he has, they need to be a scheme fit, and he's just not. He's not close enough to really make it make sense in my mind.
And another thing with the Tennessee guys, like Amran Al-Malad has this like issue too, is that they played like 20 snaps a game. So like, which is like, okay, like, but those 20 snaps are good, but like, but can you have that same quality of play if you're playing 50 snaps and you're tired, on the, you're not getting fresh legs every you're not going to break every once in a while. Like, I don't know if both those guys are going to be as effective if they have to play 50, 60, 70 snaps in a game.
Yeah. Now, so for tier 6, this is one of our bigger ones. Let's see if I can get it all on one screen. Yep. So, bear with me.
And 6 is trade down.
This is all tier 6. 2. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like this. I don't see anybody that I don't think fits that mold.
No one sticks out.
I think Nolan needs to go up to 5.
Yeah,
I just think he's too physically talented. Like the guy, and he's angry, he's aggressive. Like there's a lot He's very physical and very physically talented.
Yeah, no, he should definitely be in 5. I struggle with Nolan only because he was getting like top 15 hype at one point. I was like, whoa, that's like way too high. But like, if you can get Nolan in at 39, like, okay, yeah, I'm cool with that. Yeah, he should definitely be in tier 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to me.
Yeah, Moore should probably be in 7, despite my soapbox earlier. I love him. If it wasn't for the mystery, he would be in 6 for me. But the mystery is just too much. I can't stand by it.
All right. 7.
And then 7, this is getting in the 3rd round, so this is pick 72.
Yeah.
It's just so funny seeing Tyler Booker here. Which the 7 makes complete sense for the Bears, but he does stick out when he is like, because his tape is good for the right team, like the Ravens or something, or draft, or maybe no, not the Ravens, but I don't know, a team that runs a lot of man concepts, or is going to have him as a 1st round player.
Do we think Lathan Ransom belongs here, or 8, which I guess would be a trade down between 72 and 100, or like adding a pick somewhere that's between 72 and 100?
I think from what I've seen, which again is not like a whole lot, I think he does seem to be more of like a hovering around 100 kind of guy, more than top 75.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
He ended up with a pretty nice grade from me, but I actually don't think he got one single category higher than 7.5. I just think he was pretty high across all of them.
Yeah. Which isn't a bad thing for a safety.
Yeah.
And
especially for
Jones and Birch, you think 72 is?
I think it would be a little rich for them, but I think because they fit so perfectly with the Dennis Allen prototype that it's possible they go at 72.
Okay. I think Dorian Strong might be an 8. What do you think, Luke?
I like Dorian Strong. I think when I was doing my cornerback notes, I think Dorian Strong was like kind of the last guy I thought had like genuine like CB1 type upside. Like I thought he had really great agility and mirroring and had good game sense. But he isn't exactly a press corner. So if you wanted to move him down strictly on fit, that that would make sense.
No, I'm good with keeping him at 7. Your first part of that sold me pretty well. Let's see. What do we think about Evans and Bow and Porter? Do they still belong in 7?
7 is trade down from 3.
Oh, I thought 7 was picking.
7 is just.
Oh, sorry. 7 is picking. Yeah. I think you could probably move. I think you could probably. I don't know about Porter or Mbao, but I think if you wanted to move Evans down to 8, that would probably be fine. He's a little bit limited athletically, which would keep him from probably entering like that elite tier of like tight end.
Yeah.
I just think he does so much well, and like if you wanted to, like if you were looking to have a really good 12 personnel and kind of get someone similar to Komet for good value, I think he's great, but
I think 72 is a little high for Evans because he just doesn't have the upside. And and like he's kind of like, you're kind of drafting him knowing he's probably going to be like a tight end 2 for you, even if it's like a high end tight end 2. So I think 8 makes sense.
That is like my thought of one of the Bears. Like I think if you were like the Cowboys or the Texans, like he could be a starter for you.
If we didn't have Komet already, it'd be like,
that's
nice to get Evans.
But that's a big part of it. We do.
Yeah. I think Bow makes sense at 7, even though it's
I have conviction on him that just like he is one of the most creative blockers I remember seeing, where like he just so much of O-line is about just figuring it out, and he just figures it out.
Yeah. So this is a trade back from 72, so like around pick 100, probably in between like 90 and 100. I hate to do this. I think we can move Jalen Rivers down.
I tend to agree. I didn't love his tape, but
I liked his tape, just not for the Bears. So if we're talking about for the Bears, I think
most of my issues were I've found that I really appreciate quick feet, no line, and like that.
Yeah.
That tends to be most of my disagreements with people about prospects.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that makes sense. But other than everyone else, I think it looks good to me. You could probably move Prather down to 9.
Okay.
I'm falling into that's the last guy I watched. Like,
Yes.
crap. Like the last guy you watch is always the best player you watch.
And then I think the rest of these I'm good with at 8. I'm gonna trust you, Luke, on Urasek that he's an 8.
Yeah,
but
no doubt. That's a trade down from 3.
yeah, like somewhere before 100.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so 9 ends up being our.
Actually, if you wanted to move
Okay,
yours
yeah,
like to 9, I just think from how little his sample size was and he had some injuries, that would probably make sense.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's our final tiers then. Then we are.
I think you could move Jalen Lane to 9 too. I think that was a little too high for him.
Okay. Now, are there any guys that do we just want to go off our initial grades within our tiers as to how we're ranking these, or do you guys want to like make any adjustments within that?
No,
Well, let's just start by going with the grade, and then we'll see. I feel like most of the time the grade is going to be just fine, and then if we see one that's egregious, we can change it.
And we'll publish this as tiers. Like I'll write up an article that's just like tier 1. This is what tier 1 means. Tier 2. This is what tier 2 means, and go from there as far as that goes. We will be updating this on our Building the Board homepage here, so make sure to go check that out. That I dropped it in the comments. The YouTube video when we first started, all our podcast episodes are listed here, and then our big board, I will add a tier and a grade within here, and they will be organized by tiers and grades. And then you guys can, say you want to know more about Benjamin Morrison. Boom, here you go. You got scheme fit, you got the comp, you got any notes about him, and then you have the link to the full scouting report and to an embed of our Twitter video that we put out there showing some highlights and some details on the scouting profile. So make sure you guys go check that out. We have about 70 some reports in there, and we're going to keep adding reports until draft day. So like we will keep cranking these things out. And you guys have any final thoughts on our board?
No, I think it's good.
No, I think it's good. I think this gives you like this was a really good encapsulation of like the talent we think these guys have versus like what we're starting to get an idea there's looking for with the new staff, with Ben Johnson and such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're a Bear fan, this will be the Bible for the draft.
That's right.
And any of you guys out there listening, watching, make sure to go follow these guys on Twitter at Luke O'Grady and at CFC Bears. Make sure to listen to their podcast. These two host their own podcast called Chicago Football Connection podcast.
Yeah, it'll come back. We're enthusiastic with this season, but just like happens.
Yeah, we'll bring it back eventually.
But thank you guys for listening, watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think of our board. Go check out the article at ontapsportsnet.com. And gentlemen, let's get out of here with a bear down.
All right,
bear down.
Bear down.